Welcome to this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of $1 Million Mastermind. I'm here with David Landrum, and David is talking to us from Jackson, Mississippi, and enjoying the air conditioning.
Thank the Lord. Praise the Lord.
And David has got an organization of 224 offices, 80 in Canada, all the way from Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, all the way down to South Florida, and impacting people everywhere he goes. David, thanks for taking the time this afternoon.
Right. Good to be here, Larry.
And we're having a lot of fun talking about winning, real life insights on winning. Let's talk about exploding your life by doing extras. So many people, this has to do with the idea of not only bloom where you're planted, or think about the phrases of servant leadership, like look for places where you can make an impact, but also look for places where you can expand your business. And a lot of times people get, it is important to learn how to say no, but you don't you're never going to grow if you say no to everything. The fear of overcommitment, most people are run ragged. And they've got too many things to do and their stress is too high. That's right. But, there's a certain amount, there's healthy stress too. If there's a stress of putting pressure on yourself to grow, to do bigger numbers, to get more efficient, and also to eliminate stuff in your life that really doesn't need to be there. In your diet, in your schedule, in your things you're spending money on, and who gets your time. And so the thing is, David, as you add in opportunities come along, you don't want to say no to everything, because those extra things like, people get involved in community projects and this, that, and the other. And I say, why are you wasting your time on that? Because I just despise meetings. How many meetings have you and I sat in? How many meetings have you and I held, ourselves? And so the deal is you get meeting fatigue. But on the other hand, if it's with new people, if it's in a worthy cause and it's something where you can make an impact, chances are you're going to find some like-minded people there. You're going to learn some things. You're going to have some experiences that will enrich you, and you can bring back into your regular family and business life and add some new inspiration. And so talk about some of the extra things that you've gotten involved in over the years.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's, I don't know, man, I think one of the scripture I've tried to live by is kind of, Psalms 32:8. I will guide and instruct you in the way you should go. And I think really to me, as far as kind of looking to the Lord and asking, to me, I'm kind of bullheaded. So especially the word I will guide is kind of like a cow on a cattle chute. Right. I find like sometimes the Lord has to
with electric prod. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
A taser.
Pop me. Yeah. So, but the thing about it is, and I've gotten over the years. There was one time I was on like 12 different boards, a lot of nonprofits and all that stuff. And I just think that, especially when you're building your business, you need to really kind of narrow things down. Right. I'm kind of like God, family, business. You really, to me, there's, but then the other thing, I've been through chapters in my life where once I got kind of financially done, and I remember years ago, I was in, because I mean, I started my business 43 years ago. So I guess it was about 20 years ago. Jill and I, my wife and I, we've been married 44 years. So we'd been married almost a year when I started my business. But anyway, we were living in our dream home. I had a gardener. I had a guy that was running errands for us, a full-time housekeeper. And so anyway, we had this pool in our courtyard, and it was a beautiful fall morning. And I was in the hot tub. I'd gotten through working out. It was mid-morning. And Anthony, our friend who worked with us there too, and he bought me so I was in the hot tub, and he bought me a Perrier with lemon in it. And when he handed it to me, as he turned around and walked away, all of a sudden, so I was kind of kicked back, in other words, at that stage of my life. And all of a sudden, this thought hit me, and I know it was the Lord. And I just, out of nowhere, just came out of left field, said, a life of purpose and passion is better than a life of leisure and pleasure.
Yeah.
And that hit me. And I got out of the hot tub, went and found Jill. And I told her, I said, man, Jill, this life is not for me. I know that I'm not here for the hot tub. You know, I mean, how do you retire from purpose? And so I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to get refocused again. And, you know, so, yeah. And then, so I think I know that I have a tendency, because I don't like saying no to things, but I think we do need to learn how to focus on more of the important things, and really kind of, you know, get out of the forest where we can see the trees, and kind of get up above your life and say, you know what? And that's where it's good too, to have a mentor or people that you know care about you, and that you can kind of bounce things off, because they aren't living in your world. And there's a lot of things that are probably real obvious to others that you don't even realize you're doing. So to me, that's valuable too, to have that.
Now, specifically, what would you say, did your life change? You know, any of these experiences that you look back and say, those were different makers. You know, I went in there, I saw some things, I learned, you had that light bulb experience. And then what did that trigger? You know, what came after that? You know, how do you get on 12 boards? You know, that.
How do you what?
How do you get on 12 boards?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you probably look back at that and say, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I mean, that was a mistake. I mean, I remember going to board meetings and thinking, what am I, because I'm kind of like you. I mean, after so many meetings, I remember it became like a job, right? And so anyway, I'm on one board now, you know what I mean? So, but you know, then the other thing too, and I think back, there was a guy that I respected so much, Bo Adams. I know, Larry, you know Bo, but I remember one time he did a convention I was out at the Grand Hotel. Jill and I had lunch with Bo, and he came in to speak for me. At that time, he was living in, well, I guess he was still in Atlanta then. But anyway, so we had lunch with Bo, and he told me we had been on a pretty good run in our business, and he told me, he said, look, he said, David and Jill, what y'all need to do, the key to making it in business, he said, one, you want to master your craft. You want to get good. Right. You want to master your craft. And he said the second thing is save money, right? Save money. And the third thing is stick with one thing long term, right? And it may be one field or whatever, but one thing long term. He said you have to fight boredom. right? Because once you get good at something and you get that cookie cutter exactness and you know what to say and you know how to say it, you know, you tend to think that you could do that anywhere you go, and that's not necessarily the case.
Right. Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Smart here, myself, back in 08, 07, 08, I had Jill and I were guest speakers. We'd flown out to be guest speakers in Oklahoma to another organization. It wasn't part of my business, but anyway, and we were there, and I had gotten involved with politically. I was had started doing, you know, fundraisers for people that I believe in, and you know, and so all of a sudden, a friend of mine who was back then Secretary of State called me while I was in Oklahoma and said, "Hey, David, hey man, you know, the 3rd congressional seat, congressman," and he was a friend of mine, is retiring. And he said, "Man, you ever thought about, man, I think you would do good in politics." So back 07 and 08, I came home next week, had lunch with the congressman, started hiring his team, fundraisers, all this stuff. 07, 08, I ran for Congress.
Oh, you did?
And I was bored though. I mean,
Yeah, right.
You know, but so anyway, I just said, okay, I'll run for Congress, and we almost won. I had never ran for anything, but I look back on things like that, Larry, and I met a lot of good people, and it was neat. And I became the finance chairman for our governor for the last 8 years. So I've been involved politically, but you know, I look back on that and I'm thinking, well, I don't even know that, you know, boards, and, you know, when you get bored, a lot of times you do things that maybe you don't need to be doing, and where you really maybe, hey, go take a month off, get counsel, anytime you feel like you need to go do something else.
Right.
Well, again, just because you're good at what you're doing doesn't mean you're going to be good at something else. Right.
Right. Yeah. And that lesson cannot be overstated often enough, because we all have to learn it, you know, because we all feel like, you know, I can pull that off. I know how that works, but every situation is different. Every relationship is different. You know, the economy's different. Things that work, you know, we learned this in business, things that worked last year won't necessarily work this year. And one of the marks of successful leaders is they've got a lot of tricks in their bag and a lot of experience. This is why the experienced guy will always beat the inexperienced guy consistently. You know, the inexperienced guy can luck up, but the experienced guy will be able to recognize the telltale sign of, no, let's do this, and let's do it 30%, you know, for 15 minutes, and then we're going to reverse field and go back and do that. You know, they know how to work the knobs, work the controls, and life is complex. And that's one reason, David, I appreciate you, you know, taking the time for this, and where the value of this is the fact that people can learn by listening and hearing how people like yourself have negotiated the complexities, because very few people have been through what you've been through, where you've gotten pulled. In a small town, you have success, all of a sudden they want you in everything, don't they?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like what I say about my high school athletic career. I lettered in all sports. I was a star in every team, and it helps, if you want to do that, to go to a very small school.
Yeah, you were the man. Huh?
Yeah, because if you show up, you're a starter, you know. And but the thing is that if you bloom business success in a small community, everybody knows your business. Everybody wants a piece of you. You become a Kardashian I'm sure you're like a Kardashian in Jackson, Mississippi. And you can get pulled, and people are listening to this. It's like, that could be your future. We talked about, look at people who have been down the road, 10, 15 years, 20 years further than you, and see what happens to them. Well, David's telling you what's happened to him, and maybe you can be a little smarter. But David, what, I don't know if it's smarter. It's just that you can learn from, because that was the experience that, was cut out for you. I'm sure you made an impact in all those areas. But I would say what I use to stay on track, first of all, we travel a lot. You and I have traveled a lot. When you had offices, and we're always expanding. You don't get 200 plus offices if you're not focused on growth and expansion. And you don't get from Phoenix to South Florida without a lot of traveling and meeting new people and going through ups and downs. And that refreshes you. That refreshes you and gives you new insights and new ideas, because you meet new people, and all of a sudden these people are pretty sharp, and you wind up, you're training them and you're learning more from them. And so that, I'm sure that played a big role. And also you going up and expanding into Canada and getting that mindset had a large degree of keeping you fresh. But no matter how energized you are, there's going to be times where you hit a lull. Like, Trump was on the attack his entire life, building buildings in New York, and then got in the golf thing, and he's got golf courses and then resorts around the world. Then he runs for president. Now they get to the TV, and then he gets the president, go. But now there's a lull, there's a lull, and he's out. But he's doing different things, meeting new people, lining up the next thing. But there, lulls always will come into your life, and you've got lulls will come in your life, and negative situations will happen. The economy turns against you. Life turns against you. It's not, if you look at the stock market charts, you see ups and downs. What does that tell you is going to happen to you in every area of your life? Ups and downs. And, you're a pretty stable guy, but you've had to have some really pressure points in your life, David, some challenges when your character's tested, your everything's tested. What have you ever gotten that point? What can you think back to where you've been at that point of, this is just almost too much to bear?
Yeah. And, another thought I had, is, and having those times, whether it's, all the business things, and, my business, I look back on the last 43 years. We've grown a lot. It's been an incredible run. There were many times though that, I didn't think we were growing like we should be growing. You know what I mean? I look back a lot of my run. It was a lot of frustration. You know what I mean? Because you see more potential in people than they see in themselves.
Yeah.
That can be very frustrating. Then when you try different things, the congressional thing was very frustrating to me, and then I've invested a good bit in real estate. I started back in 06, bought some property of an old town that used to be there in 1829, was the first courthouse in the county was there, but the railroads went a different direction. So the town dried up and there was nothing but old foundations. Well, I bought the town, and then we're rebuilding the town. It's called Livingston, just outside of Jackson. But anyway, that was kind of a hobby type thing, just on the side, that has been interesting. My dad was a history teacher. I love history. And so, kind of rebuilding this little town, but that, you know, that's been frustrating too. I mean, there's nothing, you know, one thing that I had a thought years ago.
What's frustrating about it? Because it seems like you've been building that town for about 20 years.
No, well, really the main part started about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think a lot of it, that what's been frustrating, I bought in a
You need to sell
developer.
it. You need to partner up with Disney and get them to come in.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, yeah. But you know, I bought in a developer person out of state to help do it, but I didn't like the way that they had that. And there's another lesson there. Again, sticking with what you know, right?
Right.
If you're gonna start your own business, two best things to hire is a good accountant and a good lawyer.
Right.
Right? Don't ever sign anything that hasn't been reviewed by a great lawyer. You know, because man, whatever I found out, whatever you sign your name to, man, you know, that'll hold up in court. But
Right.
so anyway, but we've been trying to, you know, that some of that things that you can't control have been frustrating. But I tell you, Larry, I had a thought years ago, and that is, you know, I've never persevered that I didn't break through, and I've never broken through and regretted persevering, right?
Yeah.
If you just persevere, if you keep on keeping on, you're going to break through. And then when you break through, you're going to look back and you're going to be glad you kept going. So
That is a great lesson. And say it one more time.
yeah, I've never persevered that I didn't break through, and I've never broken through and regretted persevering.
Fantastic. David, thanks so much for taking the time. This has been fantastic.
Thank you, Larry, man. I've enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementary.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.